And we will now give the stage to a British guy you might know, who has a very special sense of humor. That is how people describe him. He's also the author of the book Commitment on Real Options. Here is Chris Matts.
Thank you very much. Can we have a little bit of a appreciation for the organisers, please? I love the fact that because there's a British guy at the front clapping, everyone says, that's how we show appreciation. Come on, this is an Agile conference. Let's show some appreciation. Woo! Hey, thank you, guys. This is a really special conference. Very dear to my heart. I came to the first one in Berlin a few years ago and met a bunch of people. And I'm very honoured to come back and talk to my peer group about some ideas. It's weird. Look, there's me. It's big me. Scary. A lot of people in England, if they saw that, would run out the door. I don't know why. We're going to talk about context, today. So, first thing is, I need two leaders. I need two leaders, please. Before I pick one, you look like an excellent leader, sir. Can you come here for a second? No, not you. Actually, yeah, you volunteered, actually. Come here. And the leader behind you, come here. Right, you are now the team leaders. Right, what I want is for everyone, one second, in this room to stand up. Everyone stand up. So this is the team leader for this team. This is the team leader for this team. Say hello to your team. Hello. Right. Competition. You've got about 30 seconds to a minute. Every person in your team has to have both a green and a red card. You've got green and red cards in the box. Yeah? It's a competition to see which team can go faster. Right, I'm going to say go in a second. Right? Once you've got a green and a red card, you can sit down, because then we can see the progress. So, ready, steady, go. Which team's going to win? Red and green card, everyone, come on. Oh, look at the self-organization team going. Oh. Red and green. When you've got a red and a green, you sit down. Come on, yay. What? Come on, sit down when you've finished. We have a winner. Woo! And of course, this is Agile, so everybody are winners. Good. Thank you, guys. Right, so what we're going to do with these cards. So, I'm Chris Matts. My Twitter handle is Papa Chris Matts. The reason it's Papa Chris Matts is because Father Chris Matts is too long a name. My father has a very sick sense of humor. Right, why am I here? What am I known for? So I'm mainly known for something called real options. So what I want you to do now is, if you've heard of real options, and use real options, can you put the green card up? Yeah? And if you've not heard of real options, can you put the red card up? Gosh, this is going to be harder than I thought. But no, keep them up, keep them up. Right, there's a second part here, because this is the training wheels one. If you're prepared to talk about real options, please stand up. If you're prepared to talk to other people at this conference about real options, please stand up and hold up your green card. If you'd like to learn about real options, stand up and hold up your red card. Now, you know who you are, you know the conversations you need to have. Make eye contact. Yeah? So what do you reckon? There's about 30% of the people in the room who've heard of real options? Okay, about 30%. Cool. You now know the rules. Yeah? Get it? So what we do is we say, have you heard of it and used it? Would you like to learn about it? And then if you're prepared to talk about it, stand up. I think there's a, yeah? So what we're going to do is we're kind of trying to establish some conversations. Okay, so something else I'm known for is staff liquidity. Same thing. Do I need to talk you through it, or can you self-organize? So who knows about it and is prepared to talk about it? Stand up. Who doesn't know about it or would like to learn about it? There you go. Right, I'm also going to be talking about this tomorrow at my session. And I reckon that that was quite low down, yeah? That was very low down there. There's only a couple of % of people. Kanban. Who's heard of Kanban? Knows Kanban? And stand up if you're prepared to talk and explain it to other people. Right? Okay. And who wants to learn about it? Keep standing up, because we're locking eyes with these people. Red cards. Come on. Not too many, that's good. But we're probably looking at quite a few more people. I think almost 50%, over 50% of people knew Kanban. I'm a traitor to the cause. I do business analysis. Once again, green card, Agile business analysis. Stand up if you're prepared to talk about it, right? If you want to learn about it, stand up and lock eyes. These are the conversations you want to have. These are the people you want to speak to. But once again, this is a much smaller group. Probably similar place here. Feature injection, the worst named process or anything. Who's heard of it? I'm prepared to talk about it. Stand up if you're prepared to talk. Look at the people. Now, and if you want to learn about it, I did the talk on this at Agile, AL 2011. So look at the people that you want to talk to. Yeah? Once again, that's pretty low. I'm going to put it here. Given when then. Who's heard of given when then? Yeah? And who's prepared to talk about given when then? Stand up if you're prepared to talk about it. And who would like to know about it? Red cards, stand up. Yeah? Lock eyes with each other. Yeah? There's a lot of conversations to happen. Okay, this is just the warm-up. But I think that the given when then, because I was involved in inventing it, is going to be more successful than Kanban. Capacity planning, green card. If you've heard of it and you've used it and you know it, yeah. My version, the one I invented and I haven't told anyone about. We're running a session. Where's Ivana? Dimitri? When is the session?
After this one, after the break?
No, the capacity planning, not the culture session.
In the afternoon?
Yeah, so I'm doing a session sometime, so if you want, you can come and learn about it. This is about how you do the big portfolio stuff. So if you're doing really big Agile transformations, how do you get like 200 teams to coordinate together? I'm inventing it with Dan North, the guy who we did Given When Then together. I want to set some expectations. Yeah, hope you can see that. I did a conference recently, and my session was rated last but one. Yeah, so we want to keep the expectations at the right level. What it says is, I'm not very good. Okay. I also want to set another expectation. Yeah, how many of you are familiar with this conscious competence model? Yeah? Come on, we know that come on, do I have to talk you through it? Are you prepared to talk about it? If other people want to learn, put the thing. Come on. Right. You can see the conversation. So this is a learning model, and the idea is you start out as unconsciously incompetent. You don't even know stuff. So the analogy I love is driving. Yeah, and we'll come to this. You know when you were 5 years old, you just get in the car and assume the car just went places? Family just gets in the car. You're not even aware of driving. And then when you're about 6 or 7, suddenly you become consciously aware of it. You know you can't drive, but you're aware of driving. And you know it'd be really cool because you see your mum or your dad's driving. The key thing here is it's not just that you're aware of it. To be consciously incompetent in something, you have to value it as well. Yeah, you have to see the value too. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is I'm just really trying to get you up to this level here with this stuff. Then, once you're a 7 or 8 year old and you go, I want to drive. When you get to 17 in England, you learn to drive. And you get to a state of conscious competence. That's, when you learn to drive, you get in the car, someone talks and you go, shut up, no one talks while I'm driving. You remember that? 2 years later, you're there, you're drinking a coffee, hopefully not alcohol. You're smoking a cigarette, you're on the mobile phone, and you're applying the makeup. And that's just the men. You are now in a state of unconscious competence. You don't have to think about driving anymore, and you can do lots of other things as well, badly. Yeah? All I'm really trying to get you to do here is be aware of some of these things and perhaps value them a little bit. I'm not trying to teach you the rest. There's this belief that to get here, to get to the competent side, you have to do 10,000 hours. Yeah? No. There's a great talk on TED. It takes you 20 hours to get from consciously incompetent to wanting to learn to do something to conscious competence. About 20 hours of effort. If you want to be the very bestest in the world at something, yeah, it might take you 10,000 hours. Yeah? Got that? You're also at the wrong conference because you should be collaborating and not wanting to be the best. Yeah? So forget the 10,000 hours. Right, bit of context. I need to kind of... Who's heard of Cynefin? Yeah? Stand up if you're... who's not heard of Cynefin? I'm going to do this properly now. So, green cards, red cards. Everyone have a look. Look around the room. Everyone in the room should have either a green or a red card, apart from me, because I kind of know Cynefin, but as a result, no, I don't know Cynefin. But that's mainly because Dave keeps telling me I don't. Right, so we're getting what? I'd say about 40%. No Cynefin. Yeah. If you want to learn about Cynefin, right, hands up the people that, if you know Cynefin and you're prepared to talk about it, stand up. These people are masochists. All right, red card. If you want to learn about Cynefin and have a conversation about it, red cards up and stand up. Lock eyes with these people. Make sure you know who they are and don't let them leave. So here's the thing. If you want to learn Cynefin, the only way I found to learn Cynefin, after 10 years, was I went onto YouTube and Vimeo and I watched 20 videos by Dave Snowden, the guy who invented Cynefin, because he used really, really easy-to-use language, because Cynefin is a multi-ontological sense-making framework. And one of the words he likes to use is phenomenology. Yeah? Now, the thing about phenomenology is it took me 2 months of practice to learn how to say phenomenology. It was literally 20 hours of practice to learn how to say phenomenology. But it's actually a great framework. It's really powerful, really useful. I'm going to give you the 30-second version. There's two sides. There's stuff that's ordered, where the outcome is knowable, and that is broken down into stuff that's obvious, where anyone just knows, and stuff that's complicated, where you have to go and speak to an expert, or you have to do some analysis. The other side is stuff that's unordered, and I like to call emergent, or stuff kind of comes out, but Dave doesn't like that. And that's broken down into complex and chaos. So complex is where there's enough constraints that you can form a hypothesis and you can construct an experiment, and chaos is anything can happen. Yeah? Complex is an agile workshop. Chaos is what happens when you invite children to a conference. Thank you, owner. It's important, if you ever meet Dave, to refer to the 5 quadrants, because quadrant means 4, but there are 5 quadrants. There's obvious, complicated, complex, and chaos. In the middle, you have unknown. Dave gets very upset when you call it quadrants, which is why it's important to call it quadrants, because don't forget, this is the guy who's made you spend 20 hours learning how to say the word phenomenology. The general idea, the two that are really interested are complicated and complex. In the complicated space, we can predict what's going to happen, so we do analysis and we build kind of the backlog up front. We have fail-safe, so we know we're going to build it right first time. On the complex space, it's where we don't know what the outcome's going to be, and we have to build safe-to-fail solutions. Okay. But they're the 4 sections. Then we have real options. Woo! That's my thing. There are 4 rules to real options. There's 3, but I just tagged the last one on the bottom, because otherwise the rest of the talk doesn't make any sense. Sorry. And it's very simple. It's about how we make decisions, or rather when we make them. What we say is options have value. But that doesn't really say much. But what it does is it means our behavior is we shouldn't destroy options just for the sake of it. Options expire. This means that if we don't make decisions, some of them just disappear anyway. So we can't just pontificate because things will happen to us by default. Never commit early unless you know why. That's the same as the first one, and it's saying don't destroy options early, kind of really make sure you know why you're committing. But there is value to committing early, so if you can gather the information so it's certain, then you can do that. And then the last one is option value increases with uncertainty. So options are really useful for when you're facing uncertainty. When you haven't got uncertainty, they're of less value. Okay, we've already done real options. We've done Kinevin. Julian Everett's meme life cycle. Julian Everett's meme life cycle is wonderful. There's an article on it on InfoQ. And Julian is a biologist. And what he did, he mapped the concept of genes onto memes, so kind of genetics onto ideas. And he came up with the life cycle. And the idea is that memes start with a need. And as a result, we have several memes popping into existence at the same time because a lot of people have the same need. Yeah? We then go through a period of natural selection. And what the natural selection is about is we've got these ideas, but what's the fitness landscape? What's the context? And then finally, after a period of time, we have a dominant meme, the one that's best at this stuff. And that's cool, but the bit we have to be careful of is after a while, we have a zombie meme. So that's a dead meme that doesn't know it's dead, and we don't want to call it Scrum because they'll get upset. So that's another one. Who's kind of heard of Julian Everett's kind of meme life cycle? Read the article? Who's prepared to talk about it? Does that mean it's me? Oh, joy. Yeah, I just want to see who's interested in learning more about this. Oh, great. That's my next 3 days. Brilliant. But it makes me feel better because real options is never that popular, but at least when I see Julian next time, I can tell him he's even more unpopular than me. And the final thing is Geoffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm. Okay, who's heard of this? Come on, red, green. And who's not heard of it? Keep the red and the green up at the same time. I want to get a sense. Yeah, so there's kind of, the chasm's kind of in here somewhere. It's a marketing tool. And what Geoffrey Moore did was they realized that with technology, we have early adopters who kind of take on technology. But then after a time, the early adopters move into the early majority, and that's where the real money is. And then the late majority and the laggards. And the whole point of Crossing the Chasm is that there's a chasm, there's a gap between these early adopters and the early majority. And a lot of technology falls into that and is never heard of. Sadly, Scrum seems to be on the other side. This is kind of something that if you go to the big American conference, it's all they talk about. It's like, how do we cross the chasm? How do we get Agile across the chasm? And I'm very heartened that a lot of you guys haven't heard of it. Who's prepared to talk about it? Anyone? Yeah, stand up if you're prepared to talk about it. Yeah, great. So these are the people, and who wants to learn about it? It's kind of a way of thinking about this. So yeah, so once again, these are the conversations you want to have. Right. I've just done a load of random stuff, don't you think? Who here's sitting there going, that's a load of random stuff? Come on, green, if you think it's a load of random stuff. See if we can get every green card up. Exactly, it is. So let's bring it together and make sense of it. So what we have is the crossing the chasm model. So we have these early adopters who are the first people to try an idea, they're very passionate, and then we need to get them to the majority of people using it. And it's kind of like the sales mechanism. How do we get there? And this is where I find Julian's model is really interesting. Because what we see is, we start with this need. And we actually discover that there's another thing over here, which is before there's a need, but there's no solutions. And then we get a period where there's a bunch of memes pop up. There's a bunch of solutions pop up. And then we go through a period of natural selection. And that's about the fitness landscape. It's about context mapping. And once we get across the chasm, we then start to perceive these dominant memes. Yeah? So, how many people have I lost? Hand green if I've lost you. Yeah? No? Good? Oh, there's a few. Great. They won't be asking me any questions. Okay, so let's now overlay Dave Snowden's Cynefin model. So what we have is, actually this is wrong, and this is probably why I kind of come top, almost at the bottom. It's actually complex all the way up to the chasm. Yeah? So we're in the space of safe to fail experiments, if you remember. This is what I was kind of saying. In the complex space, so it's not chaos, it's complex all the way across. In the complex space, what we want to do is construct safe to fail experiments because we don't know. The answers are emergent at this point. And it's only when we get across the chasm, really, where we're in the complicated space, where we might need to speak to some experts to know the best way or do some analysis. And then later on, it's obvious because everyone else is doing it. Yeah? And then there's real options. This bit is the only reason I'm doing the talk, to just kind of cry a bit. What we have with real options is we have uncertainty up to the chasm. So the whole point about getting up to the chasm is you're not 100% certain that it's going to work. But once you get past the chasm, there's an expectation that it just works. You have certainty on how this thing's going to do it. The really sad thing about this is that real options, my baby, will never go across the chasm because it's a tool for this side. So can I have 10 years of my life wasted. All those hours spent in the pub drinking and chatting to people, just wasted. There's another thing here as well. I don't know if you can see it's at the bottom, I apologize. But what this also means is that up to the chasm, we tend to have to be driven by principles. Yeah? Whereas after the chasm, because we know the things that are going to work, it tends to be dominated by practices. Yeah? So, what does this mean? What you start to realize is that there are two types of community. There are some communities that are centered on the need. There are some communities that are centered on solving problems for their clients or their own problems or whatever. And there are some communities that are centered on selling solutions. Now, each one of us is in both types of community. Yeah? And the communities are kind of very different in feel. And kind of every community has got a mix of these things, but it's important to understand, is this a community of solutions, which is really about, selling stuff, or is it really a community of need, which is around solving problems for our clients or for ourselves? And as I say, they're centered. This is the worst slide I've ever done. I was running through my slides the other day, and I looked at it, and I thought, I've got to explain that it's centered rather than and I thought, and that is just awful. And you know the worst thing about it is that this morning at breakfast, I thought of a better slide. And I thought, I better not change it now because I've broken this presentation so many times. But the idea is that they're centered, so we get a big overlap. So it's not a case of we're competing. We're complementary, but we have different focus and different goals. And it's important to understand that because those different focuses and different goals drive a different sets of behavior. So if we look at our communities of need and our communities of solutions, what we find is that in a community of need, it's peer-to-peer. Yeah? It's you guys talking to each other because, you know what? It's about understanding context. And so I might have a tool that I know works every time, but that's because I'm English. And when it comes to conflict resolution, we have one amazing solution, which is called the pub. But talking to my friends in America, conflict resolution's a really awkward subject, you know? Because the first question you ask your colleague is, do you have a pickup truck? And the reason you ask that is because in America it's like, do you have guns? And there are two answers you get. One of them is, I've got 2 guns. Yeah, and one of them is a kind of semi-automatic because, you know, I'm not a psychopath, so I have a semi-automatic. And the other is a Glock. And you know that the Glock is for the day when one of their colleagues pisses them off and they've introduced a metal detector. Of course, the other answer is, well, I've got a pickup truck to carry my collection of guns. So it's about peer-to-peer. It's about sharing context rather than having leaders telling you the answer. Once we know what happens is we're moving into the complicated space. Once we get across the chasm, once we've established all those contexts, then we have experts. We have leaders who can tell us the right answers. You know, our community of needs, this community, it's about learning. But if you go to certain American conferences that have just finished, big ones, perhaps the American equivalent of this one, it's all about selling, and the people who are interested in learning have stopped turning up. We're interested in context because we know that something that works in France probably won't work anywhere else in the world. Whereas in this community of solutions, it's about this works always. Yeah? We're practitioners. The other community has experts. I'm going to skip that one. The great thing about this kind of conference is that the real conference occurs in the corridor. It's people chatting to each other. It's in the bar. It's over lunch because we're sharing stories. In the other type of conference, it's in the classroom. The communication is all here to here. It's never between. And I want to come back to this other one, this last one, which is, you remember I said at a recent conference my session was rated last but one? Well, because the sessions and the keynotes at this kind of conference are raw and it's new and it's interesting ideas. At the other kind of conference, they're famous and polished. Before I was doing a keynote at the other kind of conference, I was delivering the same session for 6 years. I knew exactly which jokes worked. Yeah? As opposed to here, I don't. My favorite is in our kind of conference, in the kind of community of needs, we realized that things fail because they were invented for a different context. And so we celebrate that failure by saying, we found a new context. Yeah? In the community of solutions where you're trying to sell this absolute solution that works in all cases, they have a different response to discovering a new context. And we say, you're doing it wrong. Yeah? That's Scrum but. That's Kanban but. That's safe. No, it's not safe. Sorry. So let's look as we transition from kind of like the ideas that are in the community of needs over to the community of solutions is we start at this end with anecdotes. And we share those anecdotes in workshops. And you're normally in this position when you share your anecdotes. Yeah? After a while, if we've been sharing anecdotes, we then get to the point where we've got enough material and there's a workshop. Yeah? But it's often a peer-to-peer workshop. It's an open space rather than a classroom. However, as we get more confidence with the material, we then start to have the tutorials where we're starting to tell people. And finally, someone writes a book. In our case, we didn't write a book, we did a comic book because it meant that Olav and I could do less work, and Chris at the back there, who's the artist, he had to do all the hard work. That was a good deal for us. And then before it goes across the chasm, there are going to be lots of books because people understand things different ways and they're focused on different contexts. There you go. So here we get to the point. Agile is broken. Yeah? Anyone seen this before? Red card if you've not seen this. Quite literally. Yeah, no. The manifesto for Agile software development. Allow me to show you the Agile manifesto, though, because most people read this wrong. This is the manifesto for Agile software development. We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Yeah? What you then see on the next line is the rest of this is a status report. Through this work, we have come to value. Yeah? What that means is, because we continue, if we rewrote that now, it would be very different. But that doesn't change. What matters is stuff that really works in a real context, not what we can sell. There she is at the back. We met at a conference at XP 2010, and Mike Sutton, Olaf Marson, and I came up with another manifesto, what we called the Money-festo, or rather the Money-fast-o. And this is some of the behavior we start to see. We're uncovering better ways of developing, income by making it up. Because that's easier than doing it and testing it, isn't it? And then selling it as Agile. Yeah? And why is this relevant? I go back one, yeah. By the way, I'd just like to repeat, I just wrote it down. It was Mike Sutton and Olaf Marson. So, pardon? We should have copyrighted it, because then we could make money out of it. This is some of the behavior we're starting to see. And in particular, this has become a real issue for our community. Yeah? Scaling Agile. The team-level practices of Agile have become so successful that people want them for more. But don't forget, it takes time to go through that transition from anecdotes, safe-to-fail experiments, to discussions, to workshops, to spreading it. And instead, what we're finding is that some of these frameworks are coming up. So if as I look at something like SAFe, what I see is that the team-level practices, yeah, they are across the chasm. You know, if you want to write software, if you want to do team-level stuff in Agile, there's a stack of books, yeah? And it is that much taller than this building that tells you everything that you ever needed to know about writing software at a team level. I think SAFe has done some brilliant work around the release train level, and we've got some good experiences there. But at the portfolio level, really what we're looking at is a few anecdotes. Yeah? And the problem is that the people who are buying this, they're the early majority. They're expecting stuff that's certain to work. Well, the problem that we have is that unlike teams, every organization is different. It's in a different culture. You know, conflict resolution in America versus conflict resolution in Britain. They're very different, some of these practices. And so we kind of need to start pulling that back and say, hey, you know what? That stuff's safe over there. That is across the chasm. That is, we know with certainty that's how you do it. But doing stuff multi-team, that's more about context. There's lots of different ways of doing it. And we need to understand the context before we can tell you the best way. And at the portfolio level, you know what? Hey guys, that's the Wild West. So when I talk to clients about this, because the work I do tends to be at the portfolio level over here, is I say, what we have is these strip maps. Who's come a green card if you've come across a strip map before? So before we got these really great maps, they used to have what they were called strip maps. So if you were going on a crusade from London to Jerusalem, there'd be a map which would be like, go along until you find the castle that looks like this and turn left. Keep going until you find a castle that looks like this, go across the bridge and stay in the pub because it's really nice. And it will tell you how to get from London to Jerusalem. Well, what's the problem with that? How many of you in this room live in London? So what we want is expert guides. So this is very much what Dave Snowden talks about when he says we need chefs rather than recipes, who pull together the strip maps, and eventually, over time, we share the stories. We can start to build up a network and say, okay, if you're actually in Madrid and you want to get to Jerusalem, the best way is not via London. In fact, if you want to get anywhere in the world, the best way is generally not via London. Especially when it's New London, Connecticut. But if you're in a context where perhaps you're already using DSDM or RUP, this is a great way to get to Jerusalem. It's a great way to get to better. So it's context. Context, context. As we're looking at these organizations now, it's kind of a big organization comes and goes, right, we want to do Agile, but it's like, yeah, but no one's ever done an Agile transformation in your company before, so we don't know how to get there. So we have to construct safe-to-fail experiments. I don't know for definite where to go, but you know what? I've got a whole bunch of strip maps from myself and from other people, and I have experience from doing 4 or 5 other similar things. And by the way, I've never got to Jerusalem. The farthest I ever got was Paris, and then I discovered absinthe. But we're being honest. So here's the first challenge for you guys. Yeah? I'm presenting you with a problem, which is, how do we fix this? As an executive, when I come to the Agile community and say, you know, I want to transform my company, how do we as a community tell them that, hey, if you want to do TDD, that's well over here. That given, when, then stuff, behavior-driven development, that's just before the chasm. There's a few kind of quirks, so you might want to hire someone with some experience. That portfolio stuff, it's kind of over here. So one of the challenges I'm going to set to you guys, and here's, I just want to see green cards here. Actually, no. If you think you've got an idea to solve this problem for the community, because otherwise it's going to make our job harder, hold up a green card and stand up. No? If you think this is a problem you'd like to be involved in the conversation to solve, hold up either a green or a red card. Yeah? Can you guys stand up? Look at each other? Yeah? That's one of your challenges for this conference is not to solve the problem, but to start sharing stories, to start sharing ideas so that we can start moving across to try and solve it. Because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to walk into your boss's office and say, we want to introduce some change. And he goes, you like Agile, don't you? You go, yeah. And he goes, shoot you in the back of the head. Yeah? So how do we do this? So one of the things we did earlier was we kind of looked at who knew about stuff in this room. Yeah? If people in this room generally don't know about something, there's a fairly good chance that the people in this room don't know about something. Yeah? You see? Do you understand? This stuff here is not safe to use. This stuff is generally safer. Yeah? Perhaps that's one mechanism. So that's just one idea for you guys to think about. How do we as a community? Because don't forget, what's the most important word? Context, yeah. I met a guy and he told me a practice. He said, you know, I've been using it for 10 years and it's never failed. And I thought, I am never using that practice. Yeah, because you can't tell me where it fails. And that's a really valuable thing. So now when I'm working with clients and I talk about Scrum and Kanban, I explain to them Scrum and Kanban, and then I say to them, these are the contexts that Scrum fails, these are the contexts that Kanban fails. Apart from that, choose which one actually fits you the best. But understand there are failure states. You know, it's very common to come across product teams where the UX designers and researchers and PM are trying to use Scrum. Yeah? There's a technical term for this anti-pattern. Has anyone come across? It's called pain. You know, that stuff needs to be put into a Kanban system. Yeah? So, there's the challenge for you guys. Right, here's the second problem. This is a learning community and there's a learning thing. So what tends to happen is someone comes up with an anecdote. We get an example. And there's perhaps a couple of anecdotes and you sit in the pub and you come up with a model of why this thing works. Yeah, and you go, right, okay, this is his model. And people go off and test it. So, you know, I might come here and go, hey, I'm going to teach you about real options. We do the test, and then what's meant to happen next is that we reflect. And we go, did that work? Did it fail? You know, what was it about the context that made it fail or made it work well? And as a result, we spot new examples that we need to take account of, and we upgrade our model and we do the test. Yet another problem I've observed with our community is that what happens is, I come in, I do a session on real options, 100 of you go away and try it, and 50 of you have a fantastic success. And you come back, and the next year you come back and you go, you know, we tried this stuff, it's brilliant, we love it. Great. Oh, and I found this tweak, great. 25 of you have a terrible failure. And you go, that guy's an idiot. I never want to speak to him again. You know what? They're the ones I actually want to talk to, apart from the fact that they think I'm an idiot. But we're losing that knowledge because our community is not structured in a way that allows us to capture those failures. There's another 25% who just died, so we just didn't hear about them. So you need to cater for the fact that some people will be dead as a result of trying our methods. And so this is your second challenge. It's actually a challenge I set to another group. I'm a member of the Lean System Society, a fellow, in fact, of the Lean System Society, which is very important, especially when I'm trying to get a job. And I set this exact challenge to them. I said, you know what? The one thing that we need to do is start harvesting the failure stories, because the failure stories are the ones where we discover new contexts. They're not failure stories. It means we've discovered a new context that we need to cater for. We're losing that information. But also, we're getting a bad rep, because people are using this stuff outside of the context it was developed for. And we don't even know the context we developed for, you know. How was I meant to know that in America conflict resolution meant you bring your Glock to work? So here's the challenge. So with the cards again, green and red, who's interested in engaging in the conversation to try and solve this problem for our community? Yeah, cool. And let me give you an illustration of an example why this might be relevant. There might be a scaling framework that tries to do more with less. And there's actually a great write-up on the Scrum website of us, where one of the clients, they took 80 of their developers into a room and said, right, we want you to self-organize into feature teams. Yeah? It's a brilliant story. And it's great because what happened was they were given 3 hours to form into teams. And if they didn't form into teams, they were going to have the teams imposed. But because they knew they'd got 3 hours, they all formed into teams. And it was a huge success. In fact, the productivity doubled. Because people were desperate to make it work because they wanted to choose who they work for. So they'd work really hard at making it a success. It's a great story. And I think it's a really important story for when you're kind of choosing what's the best way to do your cross-team stuff or constructing teams. Another client, what's not so well known, did that and had huge success in one city. They then, the same client, the same department of the same company, then tried to do it in another country, and it completely failed. After 6 months, they'd had no improvements at all, and discovered, in actual fact, that the problem they were trying to solve was the staff liquidity problem. Yeah? So they then introduced the staff liquidity and the skills matrix, and they were able to solve that problem. Hypothetically, there is a large multinational organization who were advised, based on this one success story, to put 800 people in a room and tell them, after reading 2 sides of an A4 sheet, to form into feature teams. Hypothetically, a year later, that program failed completely because they delivered nothing for a year. 800 developers delivered nothing for a year, and dozens of people were sacked. And hypothetically, I spent 3 hours with one of those people who was sacked, going over what happened. But we're not hearing about this. How many people have heard that story? Have heard of this 800-man Agile transformation that went on for a year and failed spectacularly? Hands up if you've heard of this. Yeah? See how uncomfortable we are? We should be very comfortable about admitting to knowing that, but we need to hear those stories. Yeah? This is a fantastic technology and approach, but in the right context, which is why this is so important. Because think about it, major multinational hypothetically had a major failure, and the people who care most about Agile and Lean in Europe, who you guys represent, you guys don't know anything about it. Unless you follow me on Twitter. So, there you go. There's my 2 challenges, yeah? We're not taking any names, but I know who you are. I want to see solutions to those things. This community is the right community to fix that. So I'm going to throw a bonus challenge at you, yeah? How do we create an Agile culture? So the reason I ask this is I've worked with 2 organizations where there's been a very Agile culture and then mixed with a large, dominant kind of non-Agile culture. And I've seen the Agile culture kind of die, even though everyone involved is trying to keep the Agile culture alive and make it the dominant culture. And what I've discovered is that when you look at a lot of the material around culture, it's fairly passive. Culture has been very much dominated by ethnographers and anthropologists whose whole process is based around the idea that you do not change the culture and that you do not impact it and you just observe it. So here's a challenge for us. How do we change culture? Yeah? Anyone interested in solving that one? Hands up. As a great starter, yeah, at the back, the next talk in this room is going to be about culture, just to warm up. So, fantastic. You know what? This is amazing. That little pause I did there was so that I was to the second on my time spot. That's incredible. Right. Guess what's next? I've deliberately kept my talk a little bit short because, as I say, this is a peer-to-peer thing. These are the 3 big problems that I perceive. And what I'd like to do now is to share the stage with anyone who's got a problem they want to describe and see if there are people in the audience who are interested in having a conversation to try and start solving that problem. Is that okay? Either that or we get an extra long coffee break. Works either way for me. So does anyone have a problem, a need that they want to solve? Something they're seeing and they're like... And I don't mind if it's something that has been solved. Yeah? So if you're like, you know what, I have this problem and it's probably quite well known, come up, because this is what our community is about. It's not just about trying to solve the problems up here, it's about us helping each other solve the problems that are perhaps more over here. Yeah? So anyone got a problem they want to share? Please? Please? Come on. Come up, please. Am I allowed one of those mics as well? Here we go. Can we kill my mic here so that we can talk here? Just come on the stage. Thank you. Everyone, a round of applause. Thank you.
My name is Tanya.
Hi, Tanya. So here you go.
Thank you. I like very much you underlining the context. My problem is to make some leaders, managers of companies realize that the context has changed. They somehow don't seem to realize that the context fundamentally has changed and that they have a problem. This is my problem, that they don't realize that they have a problem. So I would be happy to get input on that, how to make people realize they have a problem.
Okay, so that's you know what, that's, you know, at the start, the value thing, I actually think you've hit on the hardest problem I face. And you know what, so anyone who's got solutions to that, I would like to hear them, please. So should we do the green card and the red? Who thinks they've got a solution there? Hands up if you think you have a solution to help us with understanding how do we help managers and other colleagues understand when the context has changed. Is that right?
Yes.
Who thinks they've got a solution? Hands up if you, come on, partial solution is good. I'm not looking for 100% here. Yeah. Who would like to share their stories of pain in this space? Because that's where we learn and we help. So who would also like to see a solution to this problem? Okay, can you guys all stand up so that you can see each other? Yeah? This sounds like a fantastic topic for the open space. Thank you very much, Tanya. Round of applause, please. Anyone else with an issue or a problem that they're facing that they'd like to kind of use the big brains in this room to help them solve? Come on, there's got to be. Don't be nervous. I do bite. But only if you pay me. Anyone? No one's got problems. I wish I was all of you. Thank you. Come up. A round of applause, please.
Maybe a little outside.
Start with your name, please.
Hey, I'm Martin, and a problem maybe a little outside of the box of things that you said. I'm a Scrum Master of a team which for the last 3 months completely failed. There was a team that was the best in the company for a short period of time. Then the project has changed and they started developing something else, but they just hit the wall of quality that they have to achieve with this project. And doing Scrum, they failed for something like 6 or even 7 sprints, 2-week sprints. And the problem is that whenever I'm trying to help them, trying to show them the problem, they either don't see it, or even if they see it and they talk about it, they do nothing about it. So during the meetings, they evolve with the ideas, how can they do it better, how can they basically achieve sprint goals, because that's the main problem. Basically, how can they in 2-week sprints do something that can be deliverable, that can be shown on the review, that can do value for the company. And they actually don't, and I'm in a point where some of my colleagues trying to fight with me. They tell me that I should resolve their problems, their problems with splitting stories into smaller ones, etc. And as I'm trying not to force my way of doing things to them, I'm in a bit of a problem, because right now it's after like 3 months, somebody will start to seeing that this team doesn't do good, and something will happen. And I think they don't want a bad thing to happen. They can either be, throw out of the job or move to another project or something else. And as a people, they are very good. They meet once or twice a week. They go to the pub and talk about things. They are great people, and and the communication inside of the team is actually, from my point of view, is great. It's just a thing about the job that they do.
Okay, cool, thanks. Thank you. Does anyone else have similar problems to that? Where, it's that really nasty balance between, telling them and them learning for themselves the solutions. Anyone else struggle with that? Hands up if you struggle, please. And does anyone have any potentially solutions or can share some stories that might help with that? Yeah? Can we stand up so that you can all see each other? Yeah? Cool. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, everybody. Can we have a round of applause? Perhaps one or two more. Is there anyone got one? Up, please. Come up. Both of you two come up. Going to double act. What's the chances? Who would have said, oh, yes, we're going to have two people with an idea and they're going to sit right next to each other? Do you know each other? Thank you, everyone. A round of applause, please.
Hello, my name is Jordan. And my problem is that I'm working in the company where there are about 100 people. We have PMs, engineering, marketing, demand generation, if you want, what this means. And the problem is that we are also multinational company. So some of them are in the United States, some of them are here in Bulgaria. And the problem is how those people communicate, how they build a culture that their product cross the chasm. Exactly. And like at the moment we're like silos, everybody is subgroup and working on his stuff, but they don't work on a common goal. So everybody wants to define his own metrics to track them, but we don't have a common metrics to say that our product is successful. So the problem is that how we build that culture, maybe culture collaboration among these groups, so we can be successful.
Okay, sorry. So is one of the problems, careful you don't step off the bed, is one of the problems that the organization structure and management don't even think about that as well? Yeah. They're imposing constraints. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is that they say that they want to solve it, but then after, for example, 1 year, the result is the same as before. So everybody say that he cares, understand the problem, but then there are no real actions to solve it.
Okay. So has anyone got similar problems, or has anyone got solutions that might help there? Hands up, please. Stand up so you can see each other. Stand up, please, because I can see you all, but you shouldn't be hiding from each other. Right, kind of do a little eye, kind of lock eyes. Thank you. If we could have a round of applause.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christian Vos. I got a question. Are there any project leaders over here? I mean, old-fashioned project leaders. Okay.
Project managers, project leaders.
Project managers, leaders. Yeah, managers.
Are there any scum in the audience, is what he's saying. I'm scum and I'm proud.
Do you know any project managers in your company that think that a Scrum Master is an intern for a future project manager? How should we convince those people that a Scrum Master is not a project manager to be? That is my question.
Okay, cool. So thank you. So make sure. Can we have people who are interested in that kind of subject, which is, there's the project manager, and I think one of the things that Agile's done really badly, and that's why I was saying about the Agile release train and the portfolio, is that's where we find those scummy kind of project leaders, project managers hiding, and we're not very good there. So can we have some of those people? Because you are the future of Agile, by the way. So any of those that are prepared to talk about being a project manager and the transition from what's the best career path and whether the relationship between the project managers and Scrum Masters. Anyone who's prepared to have that kind of conversation? Stand up, please. Come on. You know the rule. I can't believe I'm still telling you. We've done this 20 times now. Right, lock eyes so you know who each other are. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, a round of applause. Okay, I'm finished a couple of minutes early, unless there's someone sitting up there who is desperate to kind of come up and tell us their problem. Yeah. Jump on the stage. Woo!
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. I can fail safely around you.
People often fail around me for some reason.
Feedback to you. You talk a bit too much about pop, so now I really need to have a piss, so we need to end this. So a simple problem that I have, coming here, I went to my bank to get Bulgarian money, but they gave me Croatian money. Does anybody sit in this room and are from Croatia and need some money to go home? No.
What a perfect way to end. Thank you. Okay, is there a grown-up in the room who wants to take the mic off me? I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. As I say, this is peer-to-peer, so it's down to you guys.
Okay, we will now. Do you want to thank him again? Bigger. Yeah. Okay, there's now, I will call all the speakers for today. We will have a really fast talk market. So you have 30 seconds to pitch your talk for today. Come on. Okay. There's only 1, 2. Come on, faster. Energy. Yes. Okay, you were the one.
I start. Hey everyone, my name is Istvan and my talk is about Lean Startup and Agile. So what I will talk to you today about in Alpha 2, just before lunch, is what can we learn from the Lean Startup? When do Agile organizations need to switch back to startup mode? And I will also try to challenge the Agile manifesto from a startup point of view. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. I'm Victor Żołnowski, and I will be talking about the queuing theory. How many of you have ever seen or have been a part of the failing Scrum adaptation? Okay. How many of you have ever seen failing Kanban adaptation? Or any other failing process? So, if you want to learn or why this process fail, and what is the math behind these failures, then you should participate in my talk. So feel invited at, I think it was 11:30 at Alpha 1. So see you there.
Hello everyone, my name is Ildikó Mindek. I'm a lean expert, and the title of my presentation is How to Nurture Droids into Thinking People. And based on my true story, I'd like to tell you what makes a good lean leader and what's not. Because the success of lean doesn't depend on the tools what you use, rather than how to use. So that's why today I like to speak about the lean leader's mindset. So let's meet at 11:30 at Alpha 2 room.
Hi, my name is Bernhard, and I'm going to speak about Sociocracy 3.0. That's a way of growing agile organizations from the ground up. So it has lots of ideas how we can get rid of all the stuff that gets in the way of a culture of hierarchy, individual incentives. It shows how we can make decisions in a way that we leverage everyone's knowledge and not somebody's position of power, and lots of other ideas how we can slowly transform from a traditional organization into a truly agile one. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Christian Vos. I got a question. Is everybody agreeing that if you're working in an agile way that you're also delivering quality? Is it the same? Yes, it's the same? Well, today, at 11 o'clock I'm going to talk about using a definition of done, and then I will challenge you what the difference is working in an agile way or delivering quality, or maybe it's the same. Okay, thank you. See you at 11.
Hello, I'm Mariana and I will talk today about design thinking. We hear design thinking everywhere. We hear that you can make innovative products with it, but how do we actually adopt it and make it work and involve the team in doing design thinking together with designers and make the developers contribute to making a really good product? If you want to hear, it will be at 11:30 here in this room. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Nikola Bogdanov, and basically I saw that we're all talking about Scrum and Kanban and such stuff, so I decided to talk more about extreme programming. So I want to share some personal experience when I had to mess up with extreme programming and outsourcing project. So basically the topic of my talk is, which is in 11 o'clock, is when extreme programming met outsourcing. That's it. Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Karoliina, and at 12:30 in Alpha 1 I will tell you a secret. And that is why customers usually suck in Agile and what we all can do to help them. So meet you there.
Hello, my name is Ivana Gancheva, and at 11 o'clock in this room, I'm going to talk about culture, organizational culture, corporate culture, how we can visualize it as a first good step to understand some of the crazy situations that we heard shared earlier, and how we can help our organizations improve. Thank you. And since I'm the last in line, we are going to take a coffee break now. So please enjoy coffee and water.